And on the other, it's just not natural.
Yeah, I guess.
It's just weird. Let's do okay, hold on.
Usually on the other end of the spectrum or something. Nope.
So shifting from the women's side of the tournament and into the men's side of the tournament, let's talk about United States men's squad. So as you all know,
big time.
Boring. I mean, come on. I mean, we knew it was going to be bad. We ranted. We beat the dead horse on this podcast about how bad this team was going to be. It was very evident that what everyone thought was going to be the big issue of not enough college players on the team was a major issue. Because for the United States men, okay, they got absolutely taken to school by Russia, or the Olympic athletes from Russia, 4-0, got absolutely spanked. They outshot them, but the quality of chances were definitely in Russia's favor. You beat Slovakia twice, but Slovakia wasn't a very good team. Czech Republic, you have a couple, all it took was a couple decent guys on any team in the USA was done. Because, I mean, Czech Republic had Marty Erat. He looked kind of dangerous that whole game. Like, they made one decent guy look like he was an all-star. So, the United States, I don't know what you think, but the only spark plugs for me, in my opinion, and I wrote about this in the blog, Troy Terry, Jordan Greenway, Ryan Donato. Unfortunately, two of those guys didn't come up big for him in the shootout, but you know what? They were doomed from the start. They just had a bunch of AHL grinders, and they couldn't manufacture any goals. They just relied on Donato to score from every time, and like he did enough. They just needed some secondary scoring, and they had none of it. The team had no skill. They weren't fast. They just tried to be gritty and like, I don't know, tried to outsmart you. I don't really know what to make of that team. It was really bad, and if this is the case for 2022, I don't really know where the Olympics are off the top of my head. Do you know? But
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know. I don't really care if there's not NHL players in it again. Yeah. But just you got to put more college players in it. So, Calvin, what are your thoughts on the Olympics?
Yeah, like this just goes back to my original thought when they first, released the roster. Why aren't there more college players on it? You have Troy Terry, stud, American hero. Ryan Donato, I don't want to say he came out of nowhere because he's a relatively well-known prospect. He's, always on the Hobie Baker watch list throughout this year. And then Jordan Greenway, we saw him as well in the World Juniors last year. Those are three great players. Like, why aren't you seeing guys like from this year's World Junior teams? Why aren't you seeing a Casey Middlestat?
A Tkachuk?
A Brady Tkachuk, yeah. Why aren't you seeing guys like that? There's really
because they went with grit and heart. I don't really understand it. They just went with like grit and heart and soul guys instead of just these cliche, like just all the descriptive analysis of guys where you just have to make an excuse for them because they're not very good. Like the defense, I don't even know what to say.
Like a gritty team won't win the gold medal. Like you need
skill.
This might be a bad example because it's Canada, but like when you look at a team like Canada, it's all skill guys. Like they're all incredibly skilled, fast, finesse type players. And when you look at our roster, there's, I don't know, 3 or 4 maybe. And that's just the college kids because they're young and fast. So yeah, like you said, this team was pretty much doomed from the beginning. And if Gary Bettman doesn't change his mind or whoever's call it was, that's pretty ridiculous.
I mean, the owners are definitely at fault for this.
Yeah, the owners, that's right.
All on Gary Bettman, but I think there were some owners that probably wanted for the American or the National Hockey League players, of all countries to get to go. I mean, there was a few NHL guys that were outspoken. It was very obvious that the guys that you'd think would have made the Olympic roster, they wanted to be there. I mean, I'm sitting there, obviously American citizen, watching my team, and I'm watching Bobby Butler take a do-or-die fucking shootout attempt after they had gone 0 for 4 to start the 5th and final try. The tournament's on the line, and it's Bobby Butler, and you're thinking, well, first of all, if they had their normal roster, the game would have been close with how good Team USA could have been. But, I mean, you're like, why isn't this like Austin Matthews? Why isn't this Patrick Kane? Why isn't this Blake Wheeler? Why isn't this Jack Eichel? Why isn't this guy? Anybody. But, I mean, the guy – let's go through the shootout, guys. I mean, It was like Mark Arcobello.
Dude, that's Mark Arcobello. Side note, he's like
he was
back, back early 2010 maybe. Like
those bad Oilers teams.
Dude, yeah, like Mark Arcobello, he's one of those guys that like he came up everywhere whenever I play NHL. Like I'd see the name Mark Arcobello everywhere. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? And then when I see him on the fucking roster, I'm like, you got to be shitting me. Story of my fucking life. Anyways, go on.
Chris Bourque leading it off. Like, come on.
My God. Brian Gianta. I mean, he wasn't in the shootout, but fuck. Just this roster.
And I heard some talk that an NHL team might pick him up. I mean, okay. I guess. I mean, he's been practicing with Rochester, the AHL. You know, he was with Buffalo for a few years there. And so I think he was their captain too, before they gave it to Eichel, wasn't he? So,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a veteran locker room guy, just, you know, classic, you know, describe him in every way that doesn't involve his actual play on the ice. Basically finished it at this point. I mean, he's still kind of fast. There's a few moments I thought he looked pretty quick, but yeah, all in all, I thought the USA was just pretty dismal. I mean, if you don't have skill, the way hockey's trending is very obvious. Like, you know, the way you win in the NHL right now is a lot of skill, a lot of speed. That just kills teams, and you know, a lot of high output scoring. And Team USA was basically like, oh my God, we managed to get 2 goals. Now we got to like try to just hang on to this. Like even early in the game, they got that first goal from Donato. I mean, it was a shot that probably should have been stopped, but it was a pretty, you know, nice shot by him. And it's like 1-0. And then the next 10 minutes, I swear they didn't like get a shot. Like they're just on their heels. Like the D are running around like chickens with their heads cut off. They just, I mean, it's just short. It's just guys that aren't very good. It's too short notice for any kind of chemistry. It's just, it was honestly a disaster. And it was kind of just sad because it's like, I love the Olympics. I cherish it. And you get it once every 4 years. And it was like, oh, we got like the Hershey Bears against, you know, the Russians. Like,
yeah. I mean, like another reason.
Or whatever Hershey is.
Yeah. I think Team USA only had 6 practices as a team.
Oh.
So, like, what do you expect, you know?
Exactly. That was basically the title, like the lead into my blogs. I said, well, what do you expect? Like, I mean, I knew it was going to be bad. I think we talked it was going to be brutal. But I also, on the same token, I didn't think it was going to be easy for anybody because I think Sweden's already out, and Sweden's a perennial medal finisher. They're always on the podium, and they're not going to medal. So, I mean, just to feel bad for Rasmus Dahlin. Yeah. Not good. Not good. So
he didn't even play much, did he?
No, he got like healthy scratched at least.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The Stan Bowman told him, you know what, guys, you should probably, you know, make sure he's healthy when we get the draft. So,
yeah, jeez.
But yeah, so NHL players weren't there, but many are going to be on the move. It looks like in the next few days or so, with the trade deadline looming. And maybe we'll start off with the trades that have already been made. A very, you know, not the high profile guys you'd expect to get moved yet, but still a couple decent trades. So Philadelphia, been really hot. They've been rolling. I don't know, maybe it's that Eagles effect or whatever it is, but Phillies was, you know, they're looking really good, and they had, you know, some guys at the top of the league in scoring, and then all of a sudden Brian Elliott and Michael Neuwirth get injured, and they're kind of panicking like, hey, we're in a playoff spot. You know, we got a damn good chance to go. I mean, it's very likely they're still going to go, but they had to make a move, and they went out and got Peter Mrazek from Detroit. Detroit's definitely a big-time seller. There are going to be a lot of guys getting moved. We've heard, you know, obviously Mike Green's a huge candidate to go. There's been talk about Tatar going to Nashville. He's got a few years left on his deal. I think he's got 3 years left at about a $4.5 million clip for his AAV. So overall thoughts on those trades. There's a couple minor ones. You know, Kempney getting flipped for a third to Washington, and I think Eric Ferrer going to San Jose. I mean, not the most noteworthy trades. I think the Mrazek thing is going to be the most interesting one to talk about, but kind of just what happened to him, because I don't think he's really good.
a lot of these trades just seem like, I don't know. I don't really know what the word is to describe them. They're like maintenance trades, like just teams kind of like where they're trying to clear space or, whatever it is they're doing. Which I'm not really too surprised at. I wouldn't expect most of the major moves or quote unquote major moves to be made, in the final days before the deadline. So, but yeah, like you said, there's a lot of rumors going around, a lot of speculation. So I think, it should be pretty active in the coming days. One name that I'm particularly interested in is Ryan McDonough, because now all of a sudden, I keep seeing that the Leafs are like all in on McDonough. And
wow, that would be something.
And then I was talking with you about this earlier off air. Erik Karlsson now all of a sudden, like there's a lot of I don't want to say momentum because I'm not like an insider or anything, but a lot of talk now that
Bobby Ryan's getting hitched onto the wagon.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So Tampa Bay, Nick speculated this, I think 2 weeks ago, kind of just shooting fish in a barrel, and now all of a sudden it's coming real. Like Tampa Bay, they are aggressively pursuing Karlsson, and then at the same time they're thinking, oh, well, we're a pretty solid destination in free agency, so, maybe we can just wait until then. But, there's a lot of issues about whether or not they can afford him in free agency because they got to pay all these other guys. So, if I were Stevie Y, fuck, why don't you make the move now?
I agree.
You're not always able to make a cup run. Nothing's guaranteed. So
two of them.
If you do it now, yeah, you get 2 cup runs.
Probably more. He'd probably re-up. There's also no state income tax in the state of Florida. So they could probably, well, first of all, if you trade a guy, you're thinking it's going to be a pretty big name. I think guy they don't want to part with. It's going to be a painful departure, for Stevie Y and company. But, I mean, you're talking like a Braden Point, a Yanni Gordy, a Sergachev. I'm not saying it's going to even be more than one of those guys, but it's going to probably have to involve one of those guys. Like, you can't just get Erik Karlsson as a straight captain. So,
yeah, 100%.
You're going to have to give something up very valuable. The fact that he has 2 years remaining, or, 1.25 years, but, 2 cup runs worth for a contender, that makes him – first of all, he's Erik Karlsson. Second of all, you get 2 cup runs with him. So, his trade value, even with having the major extension looming, that's probably going to be something like 11 or 12 million over 8 years. He still has a shit ton of value. But yeah, I agree with you. You have to go for it. As of right now, I think Tampa really likes their chances, but there's still that whole Penguins dilemma, and Tampa's not even a lock right now to be the number 1 seed in the East. We've seen Boston come on strong, and Boston was a name that had been thrown out there for McDonough, but they just got Nick Holden. That was another trade I forgot. And also Arizona and LA made a trade, swapping goaltenders, and Tobias Ryder going to LA. So dominoes are starting to fall a little bit. Maybe not the trades we've all been anticipating, but and Gabranson got re-signed, which was kind of interesting. I thought they definitely trade him in Vancouver. But to get back to my point, a team like Boston too. Ryan Donato, who we talked about earlier in this episode, he's going to be coming up at the end of the year. He will be with Boston for the playoffs. That makes them that much more dangerous, in my opinion. I think he seems like a guy where he doesn't have to come in and play on the first line. He can come in, ride shotgun on the second or third line, maybe get some PP time. He's probably going to be really good for Boston this year. So, if you're Tampa, you talked about one of your points about how they have a lot of guys to sign. Well, one way you have to look at it is if you trade a Braden Point or a Sergachev, and a lot of times you get bridge deals or cap-friendly deals. But if Tampa doesn't get Erik Karlsson, you expect Yanni Gordy, Braden Point, Sergachev, they're all going to be there for the duration that Karlsson's contract will last. They'll be there the next 8 years. But if you do trade one of them, you upgrade your team, and it's also, a $5 million, $6 million, maybe up to $7 million AAV that you don't have to give one of those guys. Because if you trade one of them, then all of a sudden you don't have to pay them now. So that's money that you can attribute towards Karlsson, because they're probably banking on having to re-sign all those guys. They're not going to let any of those guys walk. So, I think Tampa can swing it. And they could probably get him for a hair less than market value because, one, he'll want to play in a good team. You know, two, he'll probably be comfortable with the situation there after a couple of years or maybe after the first damn playoff run. And then they could probably get him locked up in the offseason, quite possibly. And not only that, the state income tax, you saw it with Nick Bonino. Nick Bonino had a lot of suitors this previous summer, and he signed for $4 million a year in Nashville because that's state income tax. It's a big deal. It's a very, very, very competitive disadvantage for a lot of teams that don't have state income tax, for sure, that have a, high state income tax, to compete with, the Dallases and the Tampas and that kind of stuff, because that's crazy.
Yeah. So I just pulled up Tampa Bay's cap friendly, and so one issue is that same year they got to re-up Kucherov. His bridge deal ends.
Yeah.
So there's money there, and then there are 4 pending free agents on defense. You got Anton Strawman, Braden Coburn, Dan Girardi, and Jake Dotchin.
The only guy that signed is Dotchin. Those guys are all old and.
Mm-hmm. Sergachev, you got for another year after that, and then he's still RFA status.
Provided he's not included.
Yeah.
How about this? If you're Ottawa, who do you want? Even, I mean, if you're Ottawa, what are you expecting in a trade back? I mean, what would you want to try to? Would you trade Carlson to get forward help, or it seems kind of redundant that you just trade Carlson to try to get the next Carlson, like Sergachev, like hope he becomes somewhere in the same stratosphere as that guy?
Yeah, I mean, so that's a good point, but also you need a defender because you lost a good defender. So, I mean, whether or not you want to get it elsewhere, that's a different story. But either way, you get a hell of a return for an Erik Karlsson.
There was one scenario I thought of today. Just earlier in the day, I was just kind of pondering different scenarios. I was reading, hockey Twitter, and I was thinking to myself, as much as Ottawa is a gong show right now, with their ownership and executives leaving, we briefly touched on it last week. And everyone thinks Karlsson's going to leave, and everyone thinks they should trade him, and the owner's cheap. They don't sell playoff games. All that being said about the Ottawa Senators, what if they hung on to him? They don't trade him at the deadline. He's with them going into the summer. Does his thinking and does the entire franchise's thinking change if they could get fellow Swede Rasmus Dahlin? Because they're not a good team. They could potentially land the number 1 pick. It's not impossible. It's not likely. Does Erik Karlsson consider staying if they have a Rasmus Dahlin? And does Ottawa want to try to use Dahlin as a chip or whatever you want to call it, as a way to incentivize him to stay? Because, I mean, you get 2 countrymen like that on the back end that play similar styles. I mean, Karlsson's going to make Dahlin the best he can be. And in a couple of years, Dahlin's going to be really able to complement him. So one scenario I thought of is if Ottawa somehow got the number 1 pick with some lottery luck, I mean, do you really want to trade Karlsson, or do you want to build possibly what could be the best 1-2 punch in the league in a couple of years in Karlsson and Dahlin? Just a thought.
Yeah, I mean, that is interesting, but I feel like you do have to take into account Ottawa's ownership and their GM. And if you do wait until, say, draft day or just next season, Karlsson does lose some trade value because you have him for less time. Like you said, the main sticking point to getting Karlsson now is you have him for 2 cup runs. And to, lose 50% of those cup runs, I don't want to say it completely, drops his value because it's still Erik Karlsson, but you obviously don't get as much in return. So
I think it also gives GMs more time to prepare, though, in the summer. Like right now, there's kind of a deadline. It literally is a trade deadline.
Yeah.
To make trades. But in the summer, I mean, you can see, like, look at Duchesne. That carried over in the season, which it shouldn't have.
Yeah.
But the Duchesne thing was being talked about for months, and GMs can line up a series of moves and, make free agent decisions around that and try to line up to make a trade offer. But I mean, right now they're kind of rushing into it. But yeah, I mean, that is a huge thing. I mean, if you're not 100%, you want to get him and you're not 100% sure that you can re-sign him, you do, if you're based on what you're going to give up, because it's going to probably be a special young player or two, you need to make sure you get 2 cup runs with him. I 100% agree. So
yeah.
We'll see. But McDonough, let's go back to him. I mean, seems like I thought Boston would have been a good fit. Doesn't look like that's happening now because they got Holden. And also, I mean, Ryan McDonough can only make you better, but I don't know if Boston's really looking to shake it up like that much. You know what I mean? Like, he'd be a huge ad, but they're rolling right now. Toronto, that'd be a very, 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 very interesting move. To me, that puts them, because that's really what they're missing, aren't they? I mean, they have Anderson, who's a solid goaltender. They've got a lot of firepower up front. In the last few weeks, Toronto's really, really picked it up offensively. They've kind of Babcock shuffled the lines a little bit, and Marner's really picking it up. He had a really slow start to the year. Marner's picking it up. Matthews is Matthews. You know, you've got JVR. I mean, list goes on and on. They have a very potent group, and Anderson's a pretty solid goaltender. You add a bona fide number one, number two defenseman to that Toronto group, and you are talking about kind of expediting the return of the Leafs, because last year was kind of like, oh, this will be good experience for the young kids. They got a bunch of rookies. You know, they played a really tough team like Washington, who was dominant in the regular season. You get Ryan McDonough, you go from we're taking stepping stones to you leapfrog into being like a series contender, if you ask me, because I think he's that good and his presence is that important, and it takes a lot of weight off certain guys. Like, I mean, Morgan Riley is really good, but that allows him to be, you know, they can give him more offensive zone, you know, starts, you know, off draws and stuff. Like, they don't have to ask him to possibly play against number one, you know, top lines as much and stuff. So I think you get McDonough, it makes a guy like Morgan Riley better. It just makes your whole team better. And it takes some weight off your goalie too. So I don't know what you think about them getting him, but I think Tampa's another team that should go after McDonough. I mean, if you don't get Carlson, why not go after McDonough? I mean, if the cost is relatively the same, you might as well get Carlson, obviously, because he's freaking a generational defenseman. But I don't know. I think it's going to be Tampa and Toronto in the end. I actually don't know if Carlson's going to get moved. I think it could end up waiting. I mean, you could get traded tomorrow, and I look like an idiot, but
yeah, I mean, it's really hard to say. I remember he'd be a great fit for. Yo, we gotta stop. I'm hearing myself talk on your thing.
Okay.
Okay, I'll write down the time.
You're hearing an echo?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I'm ready to go.
All right, go ahead.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I remember we were talking last year, I think it was, about how Toronto could use help on the back end. And then they signed Brian Boyle. Or fuck. God damn it. Gotta start over. Fuck.
They traded for him.
Yeah.
Okay. It's all right. You could have just corrected yourself. All right.
Okay. All right, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I remember we talked last year about Toronto getting some extra help at the deadline, you know, getting that veteran presence. They did so. They got Brian Boyle. And then I feel like you kind of make a similar move this year, if not an even better one, by getting a guy like Ryan McDonough, because he's still relatively young in his prime years. You got him for another year after this. He's a great defenseman. And like you said, he has a great presence in the locker room, on the ice. If, you know, Toronto, like I said earlier, you know, they're one of the top suitors for Ryan McDonough right now. So when you got a team as good as they do now, why not pull the trigger? You know, like you said, it's not a stepping stone. It's a leap to the next level. When you're trying to compete with teams like Boston, you know, Tampa, all these other teams, you gotta make a move like that. You can't sit on your hands.
The only thing I could see as being a detriment to getting McDonough is they are going to have this core for a very long time. The thing with the the difference between Tampa and Toronto is that Tampa's got a guy like Stamkos, and I mean he's not like old or anything, but I mean he's not 22, 23 years old anymore. These years with Stamkos are very important, and obviously you want to utilize every year of Austin Matthews, but they don't necessarily have to go for it now and go get that big defenseman, because one thing that could happen to them is they trade some really good young assets to go get Ryan McDonough, and then they could wind up letting McDonough walk to go sign Doughty, OEL, Carlson, one of those things. Because if you trade for McDonough and you sign him, based on the fact that you have Nylander and you have Matthews and you have Marner and yada, 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 you're taking yourself out of the run for that. We've talked about it a million times, but the big three, potential free agent class, they all make it to free agency. It's Erik Karlsson, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, and Drew Doughty. Drew Doughty's a Toronto, Ontario native. So, I mean, if you get McDonough and you sign him long-term, based on what you have to lock up front, and the fact that I think you and I are always skeptical of the cap, going up, as much as people anticipate it to go up. I mean, I don't think it's going to hit 80 million next year or anything like that.
Not at all.
So if the cap's not going to go up, I mean, they got some tough decisions to make. I mean, is it worth it it seems like it'd be worth it for Tampa to go get a McDonough, because they're a lot closer right now to winning a cup than Toronto is.
Yeah.
I feel like Toronto getting McDonough puts them closer to Boston and Washington and Tampa and Pittsburgh's level. It does put them closer to their level. But if one of those four teams added a guy like Ryan McDonough, then they really, I think, just separate themselves. So really interesting to see if, Lou Lamoriello would, give up some of the farm to get McDonough, when all along they might really actually want to just get Drew Doughty or something.
That was giving me my point. Like, I don't really know too much about Lamoriello's GM. Like, I don't really know what moves off the top of my head he's made that would be of the same, caliber as signing a guy like
forever.
Huh?
I mean, he traded for Kovalchuk.
Yeah. Well, anyways, like you said, it's really tough to say, because there still is a difference between a Tampa Bay and a Toronto right now, like Tampa Bay being clearly the better team. So, to your point, how you said, like, oh, the Leafs they're young, they're really young, they're gonna be good for a while. I don't really buy into that as much as you might, because like there's really nothing guaranteed in the NHL. Like, they could be all that this year, and then
like Edmonton burned out.
It could be a steady decline.
Yeah.
Like, I don't so nothing's really guaranteed. With a strong defenseman class that you got after next year, it'd be definitely worth a shot to maybe wait and try to sign one of those guys, because they'll have the room. Yeah. But it's really, they're kind of in a tough spot, because
I really wouldn't blame them either way. I mean, I think you can make a really good argument that Toronto should just go get Ryan McDonough because it's Ryan McDonough, or they should kind of just, I don't know what the good analogy is, but just kind of like keep all the bullets in the chamber, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Like, just, I wouldn't just, I wouldn't blow everything, in their, trade holster right now. These might be very poor analogies, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
well, also to speak to that, like, I don't think McDonough's trade value is as high as some might think it would be, because
if there's competition, it's
I get that, but like when you have a GM and owner say, "Oh, we're selling everybody," like that does, even if marginally, it decreases someone's trade value. So, like, I mean, he's not going to obviously bring back the return of a guy like fucking Erik Karlsson or anything like that, clearly, but if the price is right, like, which I think it won't be as much as people expect, then I think, Toronto should jump all over it.
Yeah, I agree.
Because also it's going to cost less to lock him up long term if they choose to do so than if they want to go after, like you mentioned, a Doughty, Carlson, OEL, etc. It'll be cheaper. Still a great defenseman.
will be cheaper. It'll give them a lot more flexibility to sign some guys up front. Speaking of guys up front, one name that we've heard floating around a lot too so far in rumors is Evander Kane. We talked, I think, last week about him possibly ending up in Pittsburgh. There's been some rumors of Winnipeg being involved, which I don't buy for a second because I think the fan base and the organization, I think, really don't like that guy. So I think that's a rumor full of hot air, if you ask me.
Yeah, it was more of like because Winnipeg's looking for help at forward, and then when you just like looking at available guys, like Kane obviously popped up because he's one of those guys that's in always forever in trade rumors because he's good, but not good enough to stick around on a team for a long time. Mm-hmm. So like that name pops up because obviously he's a good hockey player, but he's a piece of shit. He's a locker room cancer, and that's not sugarcoating it at all. So yeah, but I was thinking about this. Let's talk about Winnipeg for a sec. They're looking for help on the wing. If you have if they add a guy like a Mike Hoffman, think about the power play.
Him and
Patrick Laine and Mike Hoffman.
Wheeler in front of the net, Buffalo going bomb town on the point.
Jesus, that's scary, dude.
Yeah, Hoffman's a guy.
Hoffman doesn't get a lot of love.
And I think he's going to end up in the Central. I've heard the Blues have sniffed around that one big time. Him and Brassard.
Is he a pending free agent? Pending UFA?
Are you Mike Hoffman?
Mike Hoffman.
Let me see if Mike Hoffman is pending. Some bad radio here. We're Googling Mike Hoffman's Cap Friendly. Shout out Cap Friendly. But I don't know if he is. That's actually a great question. He is no.
Got another year? Up. Oh, for how long?
5.1875. That's basically 5.2 million. For those whose brains just got put in a pretzel. That is, he is locked up for basically $5.2 million AAV through the 2019-20 season. So he's got 2 more years after this 5.2 million. And his salary is a little more than that, but shouldn't be a big deal. But he's a guy that makes sense for Nashville. He's a guy that makes sense for Winnipeg, and he's a guy that makes sense for St. Louis. And you put him on any of those teams, and they instantly gain some more credibility. I mean, you talk about a good power play, then alternatively you have St. Louis, who's going to have Tarasenko and Hoffman and Pietrangelo, and Nashville with, Subban and Forsberg and Hoffman out there. But we'll see. I mean, Nashville, I wouldn't have thrown them out there because, they just got Kyle Turris this year. People forget that. Just got him and signed him for some good money. But, the fact that they're involved with Tatar, who makes, I think, 4.5, why wouldn't they be involved with Hoffman? Because I think, although Tatar had a really nice start to his career, I think Hoffman's definitely the superior player. And $1 million for a team like Nashville is kind of marginal because they don't have as much space as they used to have, but they still have some space.
Yeah. And when you look at the other guys that they're looking at, one being Rick Nash, I feel like it's a no-brainer to choose Mike Hoffman if you're Nashville. Would you agree?
I 100% agree.
Yeah, because I'm going to be honest,
unless New York, how much money are we talking they're going to eat? If they just trade Nash's whole salary, then yeah. But you're getting Rick Nash for, a $2 million prorated hit or whatever. That'd be better. But Hoffman, if you're trying to win, is Rick Nash going to be the difference this year between you winning a cup or not? I feel like a guy like Mike Hoffman could definitely be a difference.
Exactly. Like we talked about earlier, you got to capitalize on your window. And I feel like you're accomplishing that more by getting a Mike Hoffman than a Rick Nash.
Yeah, and you see some of the money getting thrown out around the league. That's not a bad cap hit for him, even though they have a lot of guys now signed long-term and, Nashville and St. Louis and some other places. That's really not a bad hit for what he gives you, $5.2 million.
It's definitely not out of the question that his production goes up significantly when he's actually on a good team.
Right.
It
was good last year.
Yeah. So, but now, they're in the basement of the league. Nobody wants to be there. And then you go to a team who's pretty much, I don't want to say came out of nowhere because they've always been a pretty solid team, but now they're right up at the top of the league. A very exciting team, going to be good for, I'd say, a long time.
Do you thinking if he goes, he might go to Nashville rather than
Who? Hoffman?
Are you talking about? Yeah, are you talking about?
I'm talking Hoffman.
Yeah, no, I know, but are you saying Nashville is the team that's been good for? Or are you talking about Winnipeg?
I'm talking about Winnipeg.
Yeah. Okay.
Should have clarified, but yeah, like
Man, it's a scary thought because the whole thing with them was it's like they don't have the goaltending. Hellebuck's not bad, and I mean I don't know where you'd rank him in the league, but he's a guy that could really do well in the playoffs, or he could completely flame out. But if he's on his game a little bit, man, that could be a good team. And
look at last year. You had Jake Allen, who kind of came out of nowhere, and he was a stud.
Right. And plus, I know this is going to be kind of corny, but if Winnipeg with some home ice in the playoffs, yeah, it's a tough place to play. They're a very tough team to play because they're physical and they're fast and they can score. They can beat you in so many different ways. Hellebuck's won a bunch of games. You know, they can grind you down. They can score on you. They can do all of it in the same game. I mean, that's a very good team. And that is not an easy barn to play in. I mean, it really is not. I mean, I wouldn't underrate it. Teams will act more appropriately. I mean, like Vegas in the playoffs, like guys aren't going to be getting like hammered before game 2. Like guys aren't going to be getting in one before game 2 of like the first round. But still Vegas has still been really good at home, and you know, Winnipeg's going to be a raucous crowd, so you just make them that much better. And I mean, damn, playoffs are going to be fun.
Yeah, I remember we joked a long time ago. It's like, yeah, like Winnipeg definitely has good home ice because what else is there to do in Winnipeg? You go watch the Jets. So
that is what you do. I mean, there's a bunch of markets that are like that. I mean, Buffalo is literally the same way. Like when the Buffalo Sabres are good, that place is absolutely litty. Like those teams in like 06, 07
with the red, gray, and black sweaters.
But then when they switched them too, when they had like Chris Drury, Jason Pominville. I guess they have Pominville still now, but they brought him back. But Thomas Vanek, Ryan Miller, like Maxim Afinogenov, like
there's a name.
There's a name right there, Maxim Afinogenov. Danny Briere, like those.
Yeah.
Those teams. Oh, I mean, absolutely sick crowd. So I feel like it's such a big thing because last year in the playoffs too, like maybe talk about home ice for a minute. I guess we already are, but everyone was making a big stink out of how hard it is to play in Nashville. I mean, Winnipeg and Vegas could literally be the same way in a 7-game series. I don't think you're arguing here with me or anything, but I mean, I would not downplay the fact, like if you get home ice, that could be the difference because when you look at it right now, I mean, St. Louis, Nashville, and Winnipeg, that's tight. If you ask me, that's really tight. I don't know if you can really say out of that group of 3, there's a clear-cut best team favorite. Like it might come down to something like who gets Hoffman or who gets home ice or something.
Yeah. I would say St. Louis is maybe a notch below the other two in terms of home ice, but fuck, they're still a good team. We know that, better than almost anyone. So, fuck, yeah, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. If you can add a guy, like you said, a Hoffman at deadline, it could be the difference.
Most definitely. So, trying to think if there's any other names out there. Mike Green, do you have a hunch on where Mike Green might end up? Or
not off the top of my head.
Completely different defenseman, because if you're a team trying to get McDonough, like, let's say you are Toronto.
He's like a plan C.
Yeah, but like they're so different. Like it's not like, we missed Ryan McDonough. Do we get Mike Green? I mean, their styles are so different. I mean, I feel like you got to be just like, you have to be looking for a McDonough type or you have to be looking for a Mike Green type. I think that'd be kind of like rushing yourself into something by getting Mike Green. But he's definitely on the move. I just don't know where.
Yeah, I mean, he probably has the highest value of anyone available on Detroit. So,
yeah, I agree.
You don't have to tell.
Unless
what?
Unless A guy with a lot of vowels in his last name gets traded.
Where are you going with this?
Athanasiu.
Oh, I know a team. Fuck. Where'd he go?
I tell you,
He's RFA after this year. I'm almost positive.
watch Nashville just pull Tatar and Athanasiu out of this one or something.
Dude, I swear to fucking God.
I just telling you, 2-for-1. Like,
Lock him up, lock up Athanasiu next year, bring up Tolvanen. Game over.
yeah,
Oh my
they'd be
goodness.
filthy. Yeah,
Fuck.
yeah, they already are filthy. But
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to lecture me on uh, Detroit's front office and how competent they are. I voiced my opinion, but
yeah,
yeah, like it's kind of a no-brainer. If there
Mhm.
is a no-brainer at the trade deadline, it's that Detroit has to trade Mike Green because like he is no place there.
Yeah, that's the thing too. That's the trade deadline. It's kind of not as exciting for us because I mean, for the Blackhawks, they don't really have anything to sell unless somehow they find a taker for Anisabov or something and don't have to eat a bunch of his salary. And like, because and they're also obviously they're pretty bad. As I'm as we're talking right now, they're in a bit of a battle with Ottawa in 3-on-3 overtime. So which team is trying to tank harder? But we'll see what happens here. But yeah, they stink. So the trade deadline is not as exciting, personally, as it should be.
Also, Elliot Friedman, he tweeted earlier that there's I don't know, I guess it's kind of a well-known thing that at the deadline there's more sellers than buyers at this, point in time. So like, just, teams are going to want to sell guys and there isn't a market for them. And that's the
And
case
that's why you
for,
might
probably
yeah,
65, 70% of the, available players.
and that's why maybe teams hang on to guys to the draft because if they're not an expiring contract, like every team's got a chance. Like who would have thought before the year Colorado would possibly making a playoff push, and who thought the Hawks would stink this bad? Who thought Vegas would have a chance? I mean, there's just
Mhm.
so many variables. There's so much parity in the league that yeah, that's a great point by Friedman. Like there's more sellers, so a team who's trying to buy, especially if they can stay patient and wait till the last minute, wait till the last day, not pull the trigger early, they're going to get a good deal. I mean, they're going to get a decent deal on someone. So, most likely. So
Another good point though is that I forget who I heard this from, but a team that wants to buy, they're going to want players. They're going to want more games with new players.
right. And the Hawks, I remember, I hate to bring up the Hawks as the example, but when they had gotten Vermette and Ladd in the past couple trade deadlines, they had done it a few weeks prior to the trade deadline, and they maximized the time
Yeah.
they had the rest of the season with those guys. So that was good for that, because Vermette, Kane was injured. They got Vermette for a few extra weeks, and they had Ladd for an extra stretch. So yeah, that's a thing that teams would like to try to do, but I think you also give up more at that point. I mean, I don't know how much more, but I mean, a guy has more value if he's got, especially if you're trying to make the playoffs. Like if you're a team like, all right, let's go for it. We got to do it now.
Yeah.
I mean, if you need it, like a team like Tampa
The
doesn't
other
need.
team has all the leverage.
Yeah, Tampa's got all the leverage because they can go, well, we're a cup favorite without these guys. Um, but yeah, for sure. I think, if you're a team that's trying to make the playoffs, yeah, it's better to pull the trigger earlier than later because you got to just maximize the time you got with those guys. So, yeah. Do you have a what the puck this week? Maybe we do a quick what the puck?
Oh, I was thinking about this, but it's been kind of a slow week. Want to pause and just get one real quick?
Yeah.
All right.
I'd write the time down.
Yeah. All right. We're at 44.
Were there any suspensions?
Um, Not that I can think of. I don't think so.
I thought there was a bad board on like Nemestica or something. What is the what the puck? Duncan Keith scoring his first goal of the year. No, I'm kidding. There's got to be a good one.
Oh, tonight the
Brandon Holtby, easy.
oh yes, that's a good one.
Yeah, please drop the bang his wife line. Like
Okay.
they might just let him stuff his wife now.
Oh geez. Aggressive. I was gonna say before the game tonight, the Senators bus got in a or got in an accident.
That's so
So
stupid.
maybe it's Melnick trying to collect some insurance money.
Jeez. Yeah.
Or is that good?
No, I don't think we want the bus crash. Carlson bomb for the win? No. God, his flow is unreal. Damn it. What is a good one? I'm trying to think. There haven't been any suspensions, right?
No.
Wow. Hasn't been. I mean, I don't want to. The Olympics is beating a dead horse.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't beat the Olympics. What if we retweeted off the account? Yeah, you definitely got to go. Bunch of Ryan Donato goals. Mrazek. Ooh, what about? Oh, Cam Talbot blowing up in the media.
Oh, I could do that.
You want to do that one?
I'm gonna look at the exact quote. It was.
I got it in front of me.
I'm gonna pull it up so I can read Cam Talbot. It was about goal interference, right?
Yep. There we go. Gotta take a minute. Go back and then go with the flow feed.
All right, I got it.
All right. You take it. Go first.
Oh, it went away for a sec. Where did it go? Does it ever happen to you when you scroll down a page, like the whole web page disappears for a little bit?
Yeah, not often. But...
Okay. Here we go. All right, I got it pulled up. Would the what the puck then be on the NHL? I don't know if it's on Cam Talbot because I kind of agree with him.
Yeah, then be like it's on the NHL and the goalie interference situation. There you go.
All right.
Give me my thing, and then you just go whenever.
Are you going first?
No, you go first. Be like, I do have a. I asked if you had a what the puck. So be like, I do, and it's
okay. Gotcha.
All right. Let me mute it and then.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, actually, there was something that caught my attention earlier in the week. It was Cam Talbot. He had a pretty outrageous quote on the current goaltender interference rules, or the whole situation that's going on. And it was a expletive-ridden quote, and it was basically like, "There's no consistency. I'm absolutely sick of it, etc., etc."
Say it. Read it. You can read it word for word.
Okay, so
you're a big boy.
Yeah, I am. All right, so the quote was, "Quote: There's no consistency, and I'm fucking sick of it. It's fucking ridiculous. You can quote me, they can find me. I don't give a fuck anymore." So, pretty electric quote, and he has a point. Like, if you've watched, I can't really think of off the top of my head, but I know for sure there have been at least like 3 or 4 different situations in a game where literally the same thing has happened and the call has gone a different way. Like, there's really no finite, concrete way to rule goal interference. It's really, at this point, it's like all the ref's discretion, and like if it's at many points it's cost teams a game. So especially when it goes into the playoffs, if it's still a problem, like that can lose you a playoff series, and like that's pretty unacceptable.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Just a guy letting his frustrations out. I think there was a pretty bullshit call in his game that obviously, I mean, I don't think, they won 5-0 and he went like, "Hey, by the way, fuck goaltender."
Yeah.
So he got, screwed in the game. Sounded like I didn't get a chance to see the highlight, but yeah, just from all the stuff I've seen this year, yeah, there's like zero consistency. Like he said, there is no baseline for what it is. I mean, they need to literally just like make it black and white. Like you can't, touch the goalie here, or you can't skate here. Like you have to make it black and white because it really is just bad. Because I think I heard something like the Oilers had lost. They might even still be on the streak. They had lost like 18 challenges in a row, and I'm sure part of it is because McClellan does.
You just call it the John Fox.
The John Fox, right? Yeah, but yeah, shout out Chicago Bears. But oh my God, Alex DeBrincat, by the way, absolutely filthy shootout goal, absolutely cucking the Hawks in the lottery. But but anyway, yeah, like they've lost like 18 straight challenges because they're basically, I'm sure, just guessing what's goaltender interference, and I'm sure not all of them were goalie interference challenges, but yeah, not good. Don't blame Talbot for blowing up. The thing is, in the NHL too, it's not like the NFL. Like he probably only got fined like $2,000, so like definitely got his money's worth with that stuff going on. So loved it. Love the quote. Love when guys play fiery. Love it when goalies are a little weird. Makes the NHL better when goalies want to fight and say crazy shit and they're just weird teammates. I've got two what the pucks.
Let's hear it.
My first one is Braden Holtby's 5-hole.
Oh my goodness.
That man has a stinky little 5-hole there. And let me tell you a little about it. Let's cut that part. It got really weird.
That's stinky. Oh man. All right, we're at 51-50.
Marian Gaborik shooting for Ottawa in the shootout. This is depressing. Stop by Forsberg. We're going around 6.
Oh boy, is it 1-1?
Yep, and it's fresh. Hawks lead off every round.
Can you face your monitor to the TV?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's gonna be backwards, but I want to see this shit. Oh, I can't see it. The brightness is all fucked.
I believe this is Thomas Yurko. Oh, he missed.
All right, I couldn't see it at all, but whatever. Just give me the play-by-play.
So he skated down the right wing, left-handed shot fake, pulled it to the backhand, off the post.
Really?
Yeah.
Forehand, backhand.
And here is Tom Pyatt.
Jeez.
Oh, he stopped it. It was landing. Fuck. Yeah, that women's game is at 14 minutes.
All right.
My what the pucks are going to be the racist fan at the Hawks game and
Holtby.
Holtby's 5-hole.
Stinky little 5-hole. Let's talk about it.
Schmaltzy. 0 for 1 lifetime.
Sheesh.
Oh, he scored.
Damn.
He just came down the right wing and put it 5-hole.
Ooh. Just for the game then?
Yeah.
Or for the win, save?
Yeah.
Who is it?
It's Hoffman. Oh, no, Stone. Stone's 2 for 10. Let's see what he does. Oh, my God. He tried to do that move where, like, you just wait and let the goalie go down and, like, just kind of drift, and Forsberg just stayed with him the whole way. And
Oh, really?
Forsberg didn't bite at all. That move looks really bad if you don't bite. Okay, let's resume. All right, ready? Got the time? Let's just get it done. All right, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, so, all right, let me restart that. All right. For my what the puck, I actually have 2 what the pucks.
Let's hear it.
Pair of things that made me go, Braden Holtby's 5-hole, big question mark. Gotta say, he has let some things pass through it that should never pass through it. 2 Nikita Kucherov moves where Nikita Kucherov didn't even shoot the puck. Kucherov did this to Robin Leonard, I think last year or the year before. You know, he does the move where he waves the stick over the puck, just lets the puck continue on its momentous path toward the goal, just lets it squeak through the 5-hole of the goalie. Kucherov, if you saw him in his hat-trick performance in the All-Star game in his home rink down in Tampa, he, Holtby was the victim of that same move where Kucherov comes in full speed, real game, goes in. Another night, the Caps and the Lightning are playing for real. Braden Holtby. Oh, he's not going to do what I think he's going to do. There's no way he does that again. Kucherov, in a game for the second time in a regular season game, has done the stick wave over the puck, not even shot the puck and scored a goal. It, of course, registers as a shot on goal, but he didn't shoot the puck. Takes a lot of balls to intentionally not shoot the puck on a real game breakaway, and I believe he's now 2 for 2 trying it. Because I haven't seen a highlight of him missing it, because if you miss it, it's just an epic fail, I'm sure. But fucking outrageous, because he's so dangerous with his shot. He's got a number of other moves in his repertoire that, you know what? Like, who'd thought he'd actually do this in the game again? And he did. So props to him. Absolute animal. I've professed my love for him a number of times on this show, but absolutely filthy move. Braden Holtby now is going to be very anal about that move, and he's going to get burned like Top Shelf next time this happens. So that'll be fun to watch. I think, lastly, the what the puck is, as a Blackhawks fan, it's got to mention, there was a little incident with a small number of fans in their game against Washington last weekend. Devontae Smith-Pelly was in the Pelly Blacks penalty.
Oh. Oh my goodness! Speak of the devil. Oh my god! What were you even trying to say?
Penalty box, and I was going to say, and for those who don't know, of course, he's black.
Oh my god!
All right, let me try one more time.
All right, one sec.
Penalty blacks.
All right, go on.
All right. And I think my other what the puck, I just got to address this, since all the boys here are Blackhawks fans. There was an incident last weekend in the Hawks home game at the United Center against the Capitals. Devontae Smith-Pelly, he's been in the league a few years now with the Ducks and the Devils. Maybe another stop. But anyway, he's African and African-Canadian. And I couldn't say that seriously. Damn it.
I was trying not to laugh that whole time.
All right, I can do this. All right. All right, so my other what the puck, this one, a little more passionate about. The Volpe one's a little more fun, but, Dan, Kevin, myself, we're all Blackhawks fans, and there was an incident last weekend at the United Center with a small number of assailants sitting near the penalty box. So Devontae Smith-Pelly, one of now many. Of course, there's not the majority of them in the league, but there's plenty of black players in the league, and he's just one of them. And he's had a good few stops in his career with Jersey, and I think Anaheim drafted him, and I think he was on the World Junior team for Canada back in the day. So good player, takes a penalty in a game, serving it, whatever. It was a blowout game, and he's sitting in the penalty box, and some fans that I don't think we've heard the exact quote or the full length quote, but basically they said something along the lines of, why are you playing hockey? You should be playing basketball because you're black. So just wanted to say that that's completely out of bounds. Stating the obvious here, but that has no place in the league, has no place in society. Every fan base has some rotten tomatoes. So I hope, it's the least of my concerns, but based on the situation, but I really, really, really hope, Blackhawk fans now don't get a bad rap. Now Blackhawk fans are all racist, because I totally see a scenario where they have a racist logo and now they have racist fans and yada, yada, yada. But, that has no place in the league. And it sounds like, players don't always announce when it happens all the time, but it sounds like It happens decent amount, which is a lot more than it should because it shouldn't happen at all. So really all I have to say is I'm glad the Blackhawks stepped up with some affirmative action to ban those people for life because I don't care how many
Dude.
I don't care how much you're in one, but
dude, no, you did not just say affirmative action.
I did.
was that on purpose?
No.
Oh my god.
Why?
You know what affirmative action is?
I think.
Oh my goodness, we gotta cut it.
All right.
It's not like racist or anything. It's just like it's essentially like a government program made for black people.
Not good.
Yep.
Yep. All right.
That's perfect.
All right. Can I just say swift action?
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay. So I'm glad the Blackhawks swooped in with some swift action and banned those people for life because I don't care how in one at a game you get. I don't care how many Labatt Blues you have in the game. You just can't do that. You can't do it anyway. There's no excuse for it. So that's really the Holtby thing was fun, but it's just pretty dumb that we have to a guy just can't be a professional athlete and try his hardest, and he has to. Because I'm all for roasting a guy in the penalty box and doing.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Vancouver Greenman thing used to be pretty fun, and
that's hilarious.
Yeah, but you can't be telling a guy to go play basketball instead just because of the color. That's just dumb.
Yeah, you chirp based on their team, based on the sweater they're wearing, not anything like their race. That's unacceptable, ridiculous. Just there's really no place for it, like you said. In this day and age, you hear hockey players come out every once in a while saying yeah, it happens more than you'd think. Yeah, it shouldn't be happening at all. I
remember a preseason game, Wayne Simmons was in a shootout or something, and someone threw a banana peel on the ice. This is 5 or 6 years ago or something. I mean, it's just it's awful shit. It doesn't seem too frequently, but it still happens, and it's a lot more than it should. It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
And I'd be the first to say that I think not only are there a decent influx of black players in the league, but they're really influencing the league, and they're some of the more entertaining players. I love watching Dustin Byfuglien play, Wayne Simmons, the list goes on. These guys aren't just in the league, and they're not all shitty. These guys are making serious impacts. Dustin Byfuglien is a game changer. You've seen that for the Hawks. You've seen it for Winnipeg. They're not just all shitty players. They're some of the better players in the league, some of the more skilled guys. So, and the other thing that's dumb too is fucking Blackhawks have had black players on all their Stanley Cup champion teams, and they have Anthony Duclair right now. So, would he tell his own fucking guy to go play basketball instead? Just so stupid. It's just ignorant.
Yeah.
Really dumb. So I think we're preaching to the choir here. Don't be an asshole at a sporting event, but every fan base has asshole fans. So unfortunately, those fans were ones who could afford seats next to the penalty box and were douchey enough to say something that they shouldn't have said. So fuck them, but we love you guys, and thank you for listening this week. Kevin, thanks for joining me. And
as always.
So next when we talk, will it be post-deadline?
Yes.
So we will give I think next week we'll probably kick it off with just, instant reactions, who set themselves up for a nice run at the Stanley Cup based on their trade deadline. So until next time, see you, man.
Yeah, see you later.
Hopefully we'll have Danny Boy back next week. So talk to you soon. Bye.
Peace.